Sarah Schneer was married and got divorced. Sarah Schneer married later on in life, but she never had children. At least not biological children. But all of you, if you went to a Beis Yaakov, you are her children. You are her progeny. She had thousands of children, spiritual children. And apparently that was her mission. And mission accomplished. Maybe you heard of the name of Herschel Weber. Herschel Weber was a Yid from Brooklyn. He was once walking out of shul and a man collapsed in front of him. Probably a cardiac arrest or a heart attack. And he stood there helplessly by. When the ambulance finally came, they said, had we gotten here 3 minutes earlier, we could have saved him. I can't imagine this. But there was a man standing there, he said, Herschel, you killed him. Because he couldn't do anything. He was so shaken by that he went to the Rav, Satmar Rav, Tzadik Livracha, and asked him what he should do. The Satmar Rav told him that you should start an organization to train people in emergency medical service. And you should call it Hatzalah. That's how we have a Hatzalah. Because Herschel Weber heard a knock on his door. And he did something about it. And there are many lives that have been saved because of Herschel Weber. I'm sure many of you have read recently about someone named Yaakov Meyer. Yaakov Meyer was the person who started Misaskim. Misaskim is that service that when a person, Le'al Leinu, has to sit Shiva, Misaskim goes into high gear, not only providing chairs and the like, but the counseling and the other things that are needed for Misaskim. Yaakov Meir came down with leukemia. And he went to a Rav and he said, what should I do about it? And he said, you should do chesed. And he came up with this idea of Misaskim, that until relatively recently, there was no such thing. Knock on the door. And it does not have to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. It can be that all of a sudden, for whatever reason, we're in a situation where you think, why is God putting me here? What am I supposed to do with this? Why now? Why me? Why here? What does this say? Goes and knocks on the door. And he's trying to tell us to take that challenge and do it. And you don't know what it's going to do for your life and the life of others. And what is so frightening about life is that how close we can come to missing the mission, not hearing the knock, ignoring it, being obtuse. I could go on with multiple examples of how close it came to someone missing the mark, missing the mission. But let us suffice with one example. I'm sure most of us here know of Rav Ovadia Yosef. Rav Ovadia Yosef may have been the greatest Sephardi gadol in the last 200 years. He was mechaber the encyclopedic Yabi Omer, the Chavadoas, the Chazon Ovadia, and the list goes on and on. But in addition to that, he started a Sephardic revolution in Eretz Yisrael and across the world. And he gave new pride to Sephardim. From Eretz Yisrael to the Jersey Shore in Deal, New Jersey, to Ocean Parkway in Brooklyn, The Sephardic community is what it is today because of one man, Chacham Ovadia. And it almost didn't happen. Ovadia came from a poor Sephardic family. His father was a grocer. Little Ovadia went to Yeshivat Porat Yosef in Eretz Yisrael. And when he was 11 years old, his father decided that he needs him to work in the store, to go ahead and to stock the shelves and to take out the groceries for customers. And he's learned enough by age 11. So the two Rosh Yeshiva in Porat Yosef, Rav Atiyah and Rav Cohen, noticed that Ovadia wasn't showing up. So they went to the grocery store and they said, listen, you don't know what kind of child you have. You can't be working in a grocery store. He says, listen, I need him, and he has to learn the business, and this is how he's going to learn the business, and this is where he's going to stay. No matter what they would say, he wouldn't relent. Whereupon, Rav Atiyah took off his rabbinic garb, put on a store apron, and said, I will work in the store for 2 hours so that Ovadia can come and stay in the yeshiva. That made an impression on his father. And Ovadia went back to Porat Yosef and became Rav Ovadia, Chacham Ovadia. But picture the scene in Shamayim if Rav Atiyah had not come and not taken off his rabbinic garb. Ovadia Yosef, grocer, would come to Shamayim, and Rebbeinu Shalom would ask him, where is the Abi Omer? What's with Deal, New Jersey? And he'd say, where is Deal, New Jersey? And what is Deal, New Jersey? But thank God, he didn't ignore the call. And look what putting on an apron can accomplish. Perhaps there's another way to figure out what one's mission is. And that is looking at ourselves and our talents and our strengths and our capabilities that the Rebbeinu Shalom has given us and saying, where can I use those koiches? Where can I use that talent? What aspect of Yiddishkeit, be it Torah, be it Chesed, be it Tzorchi Tzibur, where can I use the talents? Maybe not world-class talents, but everybody has some capabilities. We find this concept by the Mishkan. The pasuk says, "Hinei karasi b'shem Betzalel ben Uri ben Hur lamata Yehuda." Betzalel was needed to be the architect and the general contractor of the building of the Mishkan. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, "Hinei karasi b'shem." I've called on Betzalel. There's no such pasuk. There's no indication that the Rebbeinu Shalom called on him. So what does it mean? Hinei karasi b'shem. The answer is because the Rebbeinu Shalom gave Betzalel talents. He said, "I can use these talents. I know artistry, I know construction." And what's most important is what you see that you have a passion for. That's your calling. This is something that I like, this is something I enjoy. The Shevet Musa writes, I have a proclivity, a penshech to a certain mitzvah, a certain inyan. That's your calling. That's how the Rebbeinu Shalom tells you. We don't have the Nevi'im today. But he's not going to let us wander aimlessly. So look at your talents and look at your cheshek and look at your desire and put the two together. It doesn't have to change the world. It has to change you. Rabbi Aryeh Levin, the famous tzaddik of Yerushalayim, Ish Tzaddik Haya, a book about him. Baal HaChesed, epitome of Chesed, person that went on Shabbos afternoons to visit the prisoners Not only the prisoners that were thrown in jail by the British for cold front treason, but common criminals, thieves. That's what he did on Shabbos afternoon. He once asked his wife, he says, maybe I'm putting too much time into chesed. What's with my learning? So he went to a famous Mekubal, who was known by the name of the Sefer, the Leshem. And he asked the Leshem this question: maybe I should be less chesed and more Torah. And the Leshem told him, quoting in English, without a Navi, I can't know for sure, but this much I can tell you. Whoever busies himself with Inyoni Kedusha, matters of holiness, and has success and finds sipuk ruchni, spiritual satisfaction, can take this as a clear sign that he has discerned his mission on earth and is being told to do so from one above. And if you, Rabbi, you love doing chesed, then that's your mission. I once had a Talmud. He was from Chile. And during the summers, he went on seed programs in Central and South America. And he went to Costa Rica. And a fellow came up to him, a Yid came up to him and looked at him and says, you're a size 6. Well, what does that mean? He wasn't a size 6, I can tell you that one. So this man said, my goal in life is to give a pair of tzitzis to every person in Costa Rica who wants it. And I can look at a person, I can tell you what size tzitzis you need. You need a 6. That was his thing. Tzitzis. White tzitzis? I don't know white tzitzis. He doesn't know white tzitzis. But that was his passion. That was his mission. And that's what he went after.